Greetings friends! Today I want to showcase the complete guide for the build I've league started with and I'm currently playing, which is none other than Dexterity Stacking Lightning Strike Whisperer. In this video I will cover everything you need to know, like gear, passives, jewels and gems, but you'll be able to find everything I'm talking about in the description of this video. The cost of this build is around 30 divine orbs and is designed for the endgame. However, it can be played in stages and is way cheaper if you craft your own items. This is a level 97 Whisperer build that is made for fast mapping and Grand Heists. It can kill all bosses but struggles with the pinnacle uber bosses like Exarch and Maven in Phrecia event league, so please beware. We use Lightning Strike to melee attack, but if we utilize the attack in place mechanic, which is bound to shift by default, we can attack from further away. I highly recommend binding this key to spacebar because it's way more comfortable when you're mapping. We can do almost all map modes, and it is very hard to die with this character because of the sheer amount of attacks that gives us life gain on hit and leech life that is instant. Most of the time, if we don't get one shot or die to an insanely powerful damage over time effect, we cannot die. Our defenses consist of 76% fire and cold resist and 79% lightning resist. We have 3100 maximum life and 7300 mana. 100% of our mana is taken before life against physical damage from our ascendancy, called Don't Panic Yet, and 40% of the other damage types is taken from mana before life using Mind Over Matter Keystone. We also have 49,000 evasion rating with an 85% estimated chance to avoid attacks, 83% spell damage suppression chance, 53% of it is suppressed spell damage prevention. We have chance to block attack damage 48%, and we cannot be frozen or shocked if we manage to balance our attributes using Cyclopean Coil unique belt. Our offense consists of 680,000 DPS in hideout, but this calculated number is around 2 million DPS as displayed on Path of Exile Ninja website. With plus cap we have a 91% chance to crit, 260% multiplier, we have 3.52 attacks per second, 1150 dexterity, 342 int, and 337 strength. Our gem setup is Lightning Strike, the Val version. This way we can get an extra skill here for more damage. Linked with multi-strike, awakened elemental damage with attack support, awakened lightning penetration support, returning projectile support, and Nightblade support. Ideally, we want Awakened Multi-Strike, but it is very expensive, so I gave up on that. We use Awakened Elemental Damage with attacks to become immune to reflected damage at level 5. I'm still yet to level this gem up. Awakened Lightning Penetration is for extra damage, and Returning Projectiles is to cover more ground. Nightblade support is for us to get elusive from critical strikes along with a huge amount of crit, and we also improve the effectiveness of this skill on the passive skill tree. You can use the regular version of these gems if you can't afford it. For auras, we use a level 21 Grace linked with Eternal Blessing, so we cannot use any other auras on our mana pool. That's why you have to use Precision linked with Arrogance on your life pool, so we reserve flat life, and we also sneak in a Clarity here to take full advantage of Watcher's Eye. We also have an automation setup that is linked with Arcane Cloak and Berserk. This is for a quality of life, so we don't have to spam our skills ourselves. For movement spells, we have Willing Blades linked with Momentum, Fortify, and faster attack support. For utility, we have Assassin's Mark, Mark on Hit, Sigil of Power, and Frostblink. Only those two are linked. Frostblink and Sigil of Power are standalone. You have to cast those in map. In terms of gear, I will start off with the easiest item to craft, our claw. This item doesn't need much. The way I did it was to purchase an item level 86 Imperial Claw, base to spam Deafening Essence of Wrath until I get an attack speed roll, and crafted hits cannot be evaded with Workbench. If you want, you can invest it further and get yourself a synthesized cold damage to attacks with this weapon per 10 dexterity for a bit of extra damage, but it is not necessary. You also lose the life gained on hit from the Imperial Claw implicit. Our shield is synthesized with +1 maximum frenzy charge. Again, no need to get the implicit synthesized if you are on a budget. This is just a luxury item, but any shield with life, chance to block attacks, and even resist if you need them, will do just nicely. If you want more damage, percent lightning damage is also a very good mod here. Our helmet is the unique called Mind of the Council. If we get this item, I highly recommend getting the implicit with additional power charge and as much increased maximum mana as you can get your hands on. Our amulet is a very nicely rolled Astra Mantis, qualified with intrinsic catalyst and anointed with Mind Drinker, which is 2 teal and 1 verdant oil. Our rings are Hogwork ring base that allows us to get an extra suffix. This build really needs extra suffixes, so this ring is great. We use intrinsic catalysts to get more attributes, and if you want to craft this yourself, all you have to do is spam Essence of Sorrow until you get dexterity plus another stat attribute and resists. Our body armor is a necrotic armor that has dexterity, life, and spell suppression. Ideally, we want to craft percentage attributes from crafting bench, but I did get a little bit unlucky here and there was no space for it. Our belt is the unique called Cyclopean Coil, which is a perfect roll. If we qualify it with intrinsic catalyst, it can reach 80% increased attributes. If we manage to balance our stats, we will be immune to freeze and shock with this belt along with a fair chunk of maximum life. Our ideal gloves will have resist, life, and attack speed, and also crafted pierce if there is an open prefix to crafted bench. Their implicit are very important, and this is where we generate our rage for berserk automation setup, so it's mandatory that you get this mod. Additionally, 3% increased damage for 100 dexterity is a nice thing to have, gives us around 35% extra damage. Our boots are a fugitive base that I've crafted with an Awakener Orb. This is arguably the most expensive item for the build because it has Tailwind, but I strongly recommend crafting your own. All you need is a pair of fugitive boots that have Redeemer or Hunter influence, alteration spam until you get either Tailwind or Onslaught on kill, and use an Awakener Orb to combine them with another pair of bad base boots. If you have an open prefix, you can craft suffix that cannot be changed and use a Veilboard. With a little luck, you will hit the 3 movement speed prefix rolls, and to finish it, we just craft life. For flasks, we have a Divine Life Flask with chance to gain on crit and immunity to Corrupting Blood. You can substitute this if you get a Corrupting Blood Jewel, but for me it wasn't necessary. We also have a Jade Flask that has increased evasion rating, a Diamond Flask that has increased critical strike chance, a Quicksilver Flask that gets charges when we crit, and the most important flask for our build, or tincture if you wanna call it that way. It's a Prismatic Tincture with melee weapons, damage penetrates, elemental resist. I recommend crafting one with alterations because purchasing a perfect roll can get quite expensive. But the penetration elemental resist is very important for our build. I will be providing a link for the passive tree, but to keep it short, we are a Whisperer, so we take full advantage of an Infinite Pursuit where we can stack mana from dexterity. We have a lot of dexterity and that gives us quite a bit of mana, but we also have We Know All for lightning damage equal to 4% of our maximum mana. We take Mastery for 1% projectile damage per 16 dex, and try to stack as much maximum mana, criticals, spell suppression, attributes from the tree as much as possible. If you don't like the bleed setup with cornered prey, this is a node to allows us to get even more crit and crit multi against bleeding enemies. We have a 20% chance, so it is up all the time. But if you want, you can remove this cluster and go for a large cluster jewel instead. Leech is another very important mechanic for this build. We take a lot of leech and mana leech, and we take 100% total recovery from life mana as a leech, and leech is instant for a comfortable mapping experience. Another nice combo that we have is the claw and dagger masteries. Like I briefly mentioned, our skills supported by Nightblade have increased effect of elusive, and elusive also grants us 40% to crit multi-strike multiplier extra. Now for the jewels. We use a brutal restraint in this slot, and this jewel gives us 3% dexterity nodes, along with a chance to gain frenzy charge on kill, which is not mandatory. Ideally, you could get a jewel that has 4% dexterity nodes, but I didn't manage to find one. It is important to have the jewel devoted to Balbala. That's how we get a little bit of extra dex on every single allocated node that we have. As you can see here, I'm using a Watcher's Eye Prismatic Jewel, triple stat with attack speed precision, clarity, damage recouped as mana, and chance to suppress spell damage while affected by grace. We use all of these 3 auras, and the clarity, believe it or not, it is very, very nice to have. If you don't have this mod, I recommend getting 10% of damage taken recouped as mana from this mana mastery over here. Why? Because we don't really have mana regen, and if we take damage over time, we'll be low mana, 0 mana, and we will not be able to cast our Lightning Strike. With a bit of damage taken recouped as mana, we will not have this problem. And finally, we have our Unnatural Instinct and the Light of Meaning combo. So how this thing works is Unnatural Instinct will provide us all of this jewel or of these passive skills that are unallocated. So as you can see here, all of those are taken. Movement speed, lightning damage, and it says lightning damage even though this doesn't have lightning damage because of the Light of Meaning. Light of Meaning says all the passives grant also 6% increased lightning damage, and because Unnatural Instinct works this way, we get a fair chunk of extra lightning damage with this combo. As extra things for the build, for the bandits I killed every single one for an extra passive point, and for Pantheon I took Soul of Brine King along with Soul of Ralakesh and made sure to upgrade them with a Divine Vessel. That's everything about the Dex-stack Lightning Strike Whisperer build that I've been playing since League start on Phrecia Event League. If you have any questions or suggestions, please post them down below in the comment section, or come ask them in chat when I stream. I would love to have you there. Thank you very much for your time, and as always, hope to see you soon. Exile.